You are listening to a Cult Talk Network podcast.
This is Commissar Nielsen of the PDF station on Sanctuary 101. We are under attack by an unknown Xenos species. Never be with us. The sisters are unable to hold them back. Hold your host, damn you! Coward. They appear to be skeletal in nature, wearing some sort of flesh. They don't speak, not a word. Keep firing! I don't know if any of this is getting out. We are being overrun. They are packed and hard to kill. I don't know if we killed any at all. If anyone finds them...
Hey guys, it's the very first episode of Call Lore for the year.
I'm Eric.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Jerry.
So today we're covering the Necrontyr. So anyway, we decided to start off this year with another race, obviously introducing the several factions, and we try to space them out because they don't do so well.
You know,
Nope.
Eldar.
Even the Tyranids.
You're
okay.
right. Yeah, that's true.
People are like, why are all the lore channels like about the Imperium? I'm like, can't figure it out. Can't put my finger on it. Tis greatest mystery.
Indeed.
But we're going to start with the War in Heaven this year. Well, one section of it, just the Necrontyr. We won't dive too far into the Eldar and the orcs.
Oh, right. Yes, that's true. Because
The Krorks?
Krorks?
The Krork?
The Krork.
Yeah.
Quark?
Those guys.
The Crocs?
No, I just picture the really giant orcs in their stupid shoes.
Like the enemies in Donkey Kong?
What?
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like alligators.
Oh!
Yes.
I thought Jerry was going to try to convince me that there were bad guys in Donkey Kong that wore Crocs. I was like, I want pics, goddammit, or it didn't happen. Anyway, let's try to find our way back onto the beaten path.
Yes, the War in Heaven, or at least one of them. Are there more than one?
So that's up for debate, as
Okay.
is kind of all of this.
Right.
But anyway, we decided to cover the Necrons, which are an interesting faction, but I got to be real. This will be a first for me.
Oh,
I haven't done a big deep dive into these guys.
That's right. And I haven't run into these too much, except like in our prologue episode. For that, I had to look at them a little bit, and not much stuck. This time around, I see kind of what a rabbit hole it becomes.
Yeah.
We're really just kind of looking at today, you know.
I actually was surprised that I think these guys are pretty cool.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought they were neat.
A lot of people who get into the Necrons have a very high opinion of them once they come out of it about how awesome they are. So I'm really hoping that I come away with that.
Nice.
They've not shown up in any of the books that I've read either, but that's also because I tend to get stuck in the Horus Heresy. So that is partially my fault.
But one of the big draws to 40K in general is like just how huge it is. So it makes sense that like,
yeah, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with being stuck in or picking a section of the lore that you kind of like and just kind of hovering in there.
yeah, because there's ample material there for you. You could really live in it for a long time.
Oh, absolutely. But the Necrons are kind of cool because when I first got into this, they were starting this sort of change with the characters that I noticed. It seems like when I was listening to videos and I was kind of figuring out what 40K was, the Necrons were kind of in this zone where the upper tier characters had personality, and then basically below that was nothing. Now they seem to be moving into a much more of a competitive system type society. Like the old videos that I remember listening to, the Necrons were very, I don't want to say hive mind, but kinda.
Right. Yeah.
And now there seems to be a lot more of a civil war aspect inside of them that definitely plays a part in the war in heaven.
Yes, that's a good point. And that was something that, like, I feel like I kind of came away from them in the same regard that you did. Like, oh, they're a hive mind. They have some more agency the higher they go up or something like that. Was the impression I had walked away with from a long time ago.
And there does certainly seem to be some of that.
Oh, yeah. But I thought that meant that there was a single point at the top.
No, yeah.
And that's what surprised me now.
And that is not the case.
Right. So that is interesting. And like you said, it does play a big part in like the war in heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah. More so than I realized even.
Well, it's just the Necrons or the Necrontyr really are like their own greatest enemy, which is really good for everybody else. Because if not, they probably would be unstoppable.
Right.
Except for maybe the Tyranids, because they seem to have some sort of insider knowledge on the Tyranids.
They might be able to take. I don't. Maybe I'm jumping the gun here, but I think they could have a pretty good chance against Tyranids. In general, they don't have anything for the Tyranids to take.
So I would agree with you, except for like we're actually jumping to stuff that we won't even cover in this episode.
Yeah, sorry,
but that's okay. Zareth, is that the name of the king?
Zarek.
Zarek.
Yeah.
We know that he has returned after his exile because of the Tyranids. So that to me says that maybe they couldn't by themselves.
Oh. Yeah, I could see them like not being able to defeat them, but to survive them. Maybe I could see like what.
I wonder if the Tyranids could like sort of adapt to the living
metal. Oh,
the necrodermis.
Yeah, I wonder if they would be able to make.
Because we don't really understand a lot about its nature.
Yeah, because if they could adapt to that, then they could.
Oh, yeah, that would be fucking awful.
And
could you imagine Tyranids with that kind of, because that shit can just heal right up and stuff like that.
We're also seeing signs that they're starting to adapt to the warp as well. So,
oh, damn it. Okay. Those are the two kind of barriers I thought we had for them.
Well, that is the question with the Tyranids, isn't it? Is there any barriers that through sheer exposure they won't be able to overcome with time? And if that's the case, how do you defend against such a thing?
Yeah.
But anyway, let's rewind the clock. We're going to go back, way back. Way back.
Further back than what you're thinking right now. Go even further back.
Yeah. We're talking like, we'll start with the Big Bang. We'll start there. You know.
That far back.
Yeah.
The big bada boom.
So the Big Bang happened, and there was these entities called the Satan.
I've also heard the wiki says Kurton, but there's no R in there.
And
I'm not buying it.
The Wikipedia can lick my bunghole.
All right.
That's kind of my stand. That's kind of my stances on Wikipedias in general.
Right on. And that pronunciation made me angry anyway. So I'm with you.
So
I want to call him Satan.
The Satan?
Almost like Satan.
Oh.
So there is one that definitely fits that criteria. And so the Big Bang happened, and apparently these things were like the first things to thing.
Right.
But they weren't sentient.
No. They were like energy blobs, I kind of imagined at first. Like
ethereal forces.
They didn't really pay any mind to anything physical.
No, they just survived by absorbing the energy of stars.
So they would just kind of mindlessly attach to stars and suck the energy out of them, right? I mean,
apparently.
Yeah.
Now, and then they're off doing that when the great old ones show up and start implanting our galaxy with life. Now, there's a question here about the Satan and the great old ones. What kind of interaction did they have, if they even had one?
Okay, yeah.
Because again, jumping ahead, one of the Satan claims that they have had a huge battle and a huge hatred for the great old ones.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Now, this Satan's name is the Deceiver, so is that shit true, you know?
grain of salt and all.
Yeah, giant grain of salt.
Mephitron.
Oh, that was a good...
Don't you use that tone me.
Mephitron.
Optimus Prime. So the great old ones seed life throughout the galaxy. We're not really sure how, but some of it seems to be deliberate, and then other aspects of it seem to be just byproduct.
Like incidental.
Yeah. And one of these races that develop are the Necrontyr, which are going to be the focus of our video here, later to be called the Necrons. Yeah. And these guys got the shittiest end of the shittiest stick.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Did you guys get a name for the origin of their planet? Because I couldn't find one.
I couldn't find a name
no.
either. Yeah. It was just kind of referenced as their homeworld.
They are on a planet that is way too close to an extremely radioactive sun. And the result of that is an extremely shortened lifespan, riddled with cancer and tumors, malformations, and
they're just having an awful time.
Yeah, life is pain for these fucking things.
They built their society around dying soon.
Yeah. They would build like monuments to their dead, like this guy got out of it.
And but a side effect of that is because their life is so short, they really, I'm betting they push their technology way forward by what we would consider to be inhumane practices, because who gives a shit?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, if your entire race is riddled with tumors and cancer, and like your eyes are mucusy and full of pus, and your butthole's literally dropping out the bottom because your muscles are disintegrating, and like your skin sloughs off when you give each other a high five.
Oh my God.
Like that kind of why would you even remotely be concerned about inflicting some extra suffering on somebody?
Live fast, die young.
Yeah, really. They have a lot of incentive to do that. Just that.
So through, I'm betting, this model of whatever it takes, they do become a fairly advanced society.
Right. Yeah. They had they could cryogenically go to sleep for long space voyages, right?
Apparently they were a spacefaring people, so they would have had to have.
They had like antimatter engines, and it was still like slow.
It wasn't like warp travel or anything like that.
This is when they developed that necrodermis, but like not for themselves.
No,
for their ships.
They used it for their ships and their building and materials, and probably weapons as well.
Yeah. Okay. And they slowly did like start colonizing the galaxy for.
Yeah, but unfortunately, as they got away from their star, what they found out was that disintegrating gene was just inherent in their people now.
Yep, it kept going. Even
after hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years
of just being away from that sun.
It still happened because it was their genetics just weren't stable, I guess, at that point.
Yeah.
Which is like, stop fucking.
I know, right? Yeah.
Listen.
Why go on?
Can you, okay. So can you imagine finding out that you're the pugs of the galaxy?
Oh. Just
like, would you have the
poor little thing
constitution of character to just be like, yeah, we've got to let our race die out. Listen,
like, it's not like we have to kill ourselves or each other off. Let's just stop having offspring.
Yeah. Listen, we can't fuck without it falling off. We shouldn't be doing it.
Well, I guess they were kind of arrogant, weren't they? So they felt like they deserved better.
You have a good point.
So
that is their attitude towards it, isn't it?
Is like, that arrogance though? Would you call it
bitterness?
Yeah, I was gonna say, would you be able to live that kind of life and not have that point of view?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a pretty shitty. Now, what's interesting, and I'll tell you a thing that I think backs up my theory that their technology came at a very cruel cost, was when they finally did come across the Great Old Ones.
Yep.
Which had the ability to make them immortal, and the Great Old Ones were like, fuck no.
Yeah.
Why? There's no other evidence in anything that make the Great Old Ones seem malevolent or cruel.
This is kind of like the Prime Directive in Star Trek, where they're like, don't interfere with societies.
They started societies. Like, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, the Quark, and the Eldar were a direct response. So you can't really highlight those as instances where they directly manipulate things.
Well, that was when they were getting desperate.
That's what I mean. Like, that's a direct response to being attacked. So that's that's an extenuating factor and all that. But I don't know. That seems real bullshitty to me. They're just like, nah, fuck you.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem to be like their nature.
Yeah.
I can't speak on them. I don't know a whole lot about the old ones.
They
But-
just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a whole lot to know to be real, but
Right.
They're described as reptilian, so in my head, I just see them as dinosaurs.
they're more like tiny toad things.
I've seen the pictures of like the little squat guys that are like chubby.
Yeah.
But I'm like, in my head, they're dinosaurs.
Just a giant brachiosaurus in space.
I'm gonna live forever amongst the stars.
But the great old ones tell them no.
Yep.
And-
And that really pisses off
It does.
the
grudge.
Necrontyr. Yeah.
So they launch a war against the great old ones.
Yep.
Which is hilarious.
Yeah. Everything that I ran across said there was like no chance.
None.
Yeah.
So the you have to remember the Necrontyr, it doesn't matter how much firepower they can amass. They couldn't travel warp speed, and the old ones were using the webway.
Right. And they had, so that put them at just disadvantage undersells it.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah, they
they've
could
got-
teleport across
Yeah.
galaxies in what would appear to be minutes. Their
Yeah.
whole forces, whatever force and they could just shit new life all over the place. Just literally like any new type of creature. Like, okay, we have the orcs and the Eldar. We knew they created them, but there's nothing that says that was those are just the two that survived.
Right. The ones that we have record of. Yeah.
So
So who knows what else? That's a good point.
yeah. So the Necrontyr just get absolutely pummeled back. Like it basically pushes their entire civilization back to their home planet.
Yeah. They're back at the beginning. And this is okay. So before and after that kind of event in their timeline, their culture, they fell to infighting.
Right. Yes.
Succession
Every single
War.
time they came up against something,
Yeah.
they would fall to a civil war.
Right. But I think there might be some like part of their motivation for going to war with the old ones the first time was because there was a bunch of infighting and the guys at the top wanted a unifying
enemy.
Yeah. So, and I don't know how, I haven't read any of the books.
Oh, I
any of
think
them,
that's probably
but
true.
that's, something I'd run across. They were losing power due to infighting and stuff.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There
So-
was definitely at least 2 civil wars before the end of their first fight with the old ones, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because the dynasties, I guess, whatever, can't get along.
They were led by like a triumvirate, right?
Yeah,
There's
those were the guys
The
at the very,
Silent
very
King,
top.
and then the other 2 guys.
Yeah.
And
And,
that's why he was called the Silent King, is because he would speak through those 2.
Through the other
Pharaohs.
two.
right.
which
And they weren't really a triumvirate, so to speak. It was more like a false triumvirate.
Okay. Yeah. Where it's like the
What-
Silent King was really the one calling the shots.
Yeah.
Or-
There's
okay.
there's
Make
nothing
worse.
that I've seen that
Yeah.
really tells me that they had actual power.
Yeah. I see.
Because like once things start to roll, it seems to be all Zareth. Or what is his name? His name just never sticks. with me.
Possibly pronounced Zarek.
Zarek. He seems to call all the shots.
Yeah. But again, I think he was using like, common foe tactics to rally people behind him to keep his power.
That was the idea, I'm sure. And
Yeah.
it was a terrible idea.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there was one other thing that happened right about this time that he couldn't foresee, and they made contact somehow. I would love for them to explain how this shit happened.
I at least want
Yeah.
part of the answer, like something to begin to speculate on here. Because it had nothing to do with the warp, right? As far as we know.
No.
So how are you communing with pure, mindless energy things that are just sitting there eating stars?
Yeah.
How do you do that? What kind of crazy technology does it take, or what?
Smoke signals.
It just sends solar flare puffs back.
You establish a
Lets out-
baseline.
Show us your tats.
We threw some beads at it.
So
But,
the only thing that the only scrap of information that I could find about how they achieved this was that they were monitoring dying stars,
Hmm.
and they detected that these dying stars were being killed. Basically,
Like they were diminishing millions of years ahead of schedule.
there's
something.
no. You're already assuming too much.
Okay.
Stop it!
Oh,
I
I'm
didn't
sorry.
say that.
Okay.
That's not what I said. I said they were monitoring dying stars, and they detected that there was something killing them.
Okay.
That's it. Like it's so fucking vague. But anyway, they detected that the Zatan were feeding off the stars, and somehow they snapped them out of
Their unawareness of
life.
Yeah, physical space and life and all that. Yeah.
They made them bodies.
Yeah. Well, that was like the second step. They somehow made contact with them and was able to establish that they were going to build the bodies and that the Satan were to go into the bodies.
They communicated that somehow.
Yeah.
And
It's a
they
lot
did.
of coordination.
Yeah, really. Like for something that apparently you wouldn't know how to
Stars.
communicate with. Yeah. So they made the bodies out of, like, they were huge bodies, right? Like they had to be massive,
giant.
out of the necrodermis.
Yeah.
Which I thought was super
It's
cool.
the same. It is the same shit
Yeah.
that Ferris Manus's arms are made out of.
Okay, cool. That was something I wrote down, that it was possibly
It is.
Okay, cool. That's
Which has
cool.
led everybody to speculate that the worm dragon thing that Ferris killed was actually a Satan shard.
Okay.
Which
Okay.
we'll get to what that is.
Yes. Yeah.
That could lend some credence to the idea that the Satan had gotten into a fight with the old ones.
Oh.
Because, like, what if they were sentient at first? They got into this fight, got the dog shit beat out of them, and then slipped into a healing coma, trance, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And so it would be a lot easier to make contact with something that was sentient and is now dormant
Right.
than something that never was. That shit don't happen.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, it could be like a cosmic Voldemort sort of circumstance. Like the body was destroyed, but the spirit of it, the energy form or whatever, is
Yeah.
still floating around somewhere.
If you put a virus cell under like a glass and you poke it with a needle, it doesn't look up and go, what? You can't put sentience into something that's never had it.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. So they couldn't have always just been these nebulous star-eating nothings.
Well, and the old ones had like incredible technology. Like maybe they could do something to them.
They
that
had magic.
disincorporated them.
Magic.
Yeah.
Like their technology is not a fair word for it.
Right.
It would,
Yeah. It would just look like magic.
it
to us.
would, yeah. They
Like
would,
Lovecraftian style magic.
if even that.
Yeah.
And the Satan were like purely physical beings. Like they didn't have souls.
Oh.
Correct. They made
No
no
soul.
impression on the warp, nothing.
Oh. Okay.
Now, of course, at this time, the warp was actually a really tranquil, just kind of neutral energy field.
Yeah, it was a nice place. They didn't have
Well, I mean, it was probably just
calm.
it was the downloading screen from the Matrix. Probably just like white. There was
Yeah.
nothing. No good, no bad. Although I guess the line between the realities between the two was much thinner back then.
Oh, okay.
Is one thing that I found, which is what made
Interesting.
the webway traveling and all that stuff so much easier.
Okay.
Besides the fact that all that technology is now lost. But anyway, somehow the Necrontyr managed to get the Satan into these bodies, and they make contact with one whose name is
Jerry?
Mephetron, the Deceiver.
I like it. That's a good
Memphis.
Memphis.
So Memphis comes down and he basically like speaks on behalf of all of the Satan,
Right.
the Deceiver.
Yeah.
So my question, I have to like, did he come down and introduce himself as Memphis the Deceiver, or did the Necrontyr eventually give him the moniker the Deceiver after they figured out that he had screwed them?
I think it came later.
That
We
sounds
don't
right
know
to me.
that. I've not found
I'm
anything
pretty
that says that.
I'm sure he did not introduce himself as the deceiver
Well,
to make a deal, because he ends up
So,
making a deal with him.
playing a little inside ball, knowing what eventually they have to do.
Uh-huh.
Would it have made a single difference to you as the Necrontyr if he had?
They did worship them.
No,
Yeah, they became
mean,
gods to him.
yeah, but let's just say that he came out and he's like, "Hi, I'm the Deceiver. I am known by my race to be the one that is completely full of shit. But also, I'm the only one that can save your lives." Would that make a single lick of difference to you at that point? With the life that the Necrontyr have to live?
No, it wouldn't. Because by this point, they're a little more than pests to the old ones that pop up every. They're less
They'd be
than
like,
the
"That's
Star
cool,
Wars
but can you
rebellion
help
to us."
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like he
They're
very
like
well
nothing
might
again.
have just come out dick on the table, be like, "Nah, listen, you can't trust my ass. You guys are so fucked,
Okay,
and you're gonna do it anyway."
I'll say you're right. We can't say that it didn't happen.
And
that
I
way.
will say that every artwork I've seen of the Deceiver looks awful Satan-like with horns.
Oh
and
yeah,
shit.
he's like a clear like early Satan figure. Absolutely, Satan. Yeah. Like he's trying to say Curtan. No, you're. I think Terry's got it.
They're curtains.
Curtains,
Drapes.
the curtains. Beware the curtains. Let us hope they don't come back and awaken.
I am
Not the curtains.
I am Memphis, liar of the curtains. Good luck animating all this. I can't wait to see what you do with it. Oh yeah.
Oh, lovely.
That's right up there with that Colonel Corvus Sanders.
Colonel Corvus.
Yes.
Oh, it's fine.
Oh yeah, there's
I
an
know,
aneurysm
I know.
incoming. You know what this means? This means that 2 nights before this drops,
Oh God.
I'm gonna like come out to use the bathroom, and Eric's gonna be in the living room with a blanket up over his head and around his shoulders, with the computer screen on, editing stuff with one single moving finger. That's what this means.
He has literally seen that horrible sight before. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
seeing a goblin in your living room.
It's fine. So anyway, the Memphis tells them that listen, I'm not trying to pronounce that shit.
Metatron.
Yeah. And he tells them that the Satan are old enemies of the old ones.
Yeah.
And so that immediately gets the Necrontyr on their side. And the Satan say that they will make necrodermis bodies for the Necrontyr
Yes.
that they can move into.
And they have the ability. They have the technology that can do the transference of their actual like selves into these new bodies.
Yeah,
and
they
they'd
were
be
like
leaving
big
them behind.
forge things, right? that they were
So
cracking
these things were
people.
called soul forges.
Soul forges.
And this sounds like an absolutely like nightmarish. Like I found a description of like what it looked like around the Soul Forge. So it's like a giant factory where outside of it just thousands and thousands and thousands of Necrontyr are just making their way in this giant processional line into these factories, pushing carts of their family that are sick and dying.
Oh.
Some of them dragging dying family members, hoping to get them into the Soul Forge before whatever unfucking godly illness is gonna drop them dead right there and then.
Oh my God.
It's so when they go into the Soul Forge, their body and their warp presence, their soul, is obliterated into ash, which is raining down over them like some kind of cosmic version of the fucking Holocaust.
Oh my God.
And up above that are these mammoth Satan star gods that are sweeping back and forth, just sucking up the ash, devouring the souls of the Necrontyr as a new energy source.
Oh my God. They are like Satan. They're eating their souls.
Yes.
Souls and bodies.
One in particular that's called like the Nightbringer was the one that was really devouring this ash.
Okay.
And the Necrontyr could just look up and see this happening as they're trying to drag their family members into the Soul Forge.
God. But they were compelled to.
I mean,
because at the same time that they like what's his name?
Zarek.
He said, "We're doing this. Close down the food factories."
Yes, the upper echelons had already decided to do this, and so they would no longer need food or water, so they simply stopped the production of all of that.
Yep. So it was starve or go into these engines.
Take your chances.
Yeah.
And that was just for the few couple of holdouts. There doesn't appear to have been many.
Right. None that lived to tell, at least.
There's a few. We'll get into them in the next episode. There are a few that are absolutely not happy about Zarek's return because they remember not having a choice.
Right.
Or at least
thumb
on that scale.
I just mean the ones that didn't take the forge option.
Oh,
they didn't live to. Yeah.
No. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. But what none of them realized was this basically like only a few of the reigning cast were able to retain their personalities.
Yeah. Just like kind of the more status you had, the more of your personality you could retain afterwards.
Yeah.
And the rest were just kind of empty now.
Yeah. A lot
Yeah.
like the Thousand Suns, where they're just these armor suits full of sand that don't have the personalities anymore.
Oh.
Like you're just a consciousness without a soul.
Yeah, because they still seem to have a mind. They can
Some
still,
of them
make
do.
decisions.
The lower ones don't have even free will anymore.
Yeah.
So they're just automatons.
Well, yeah.
But what this allowed them to do was come back at a war with a fucking vengeance.
Yeah. Because now they're made of this like incredible metal. Like it's way better than like vibranium or any other like cool magic metal in fiction that you've run across. Like it just heals instantly if it takes damage.
It allows them to wield weapons that no like actual being of flesh could wield in battle.
Yeah.
Biological weapons are now 100% on the table because your entire army could be standing in the middle of it and it would make zero difference. Doesn't matter how much radiation you pump onto that planet. Nobody's affected.
No
Jerry, you got a list. I like lists.
Oh, yeah. Some of the stuff that their bodies could do now just really made them like a lot more dangerous.
Ooh.
Like they're no longer affected by G-forces. So they get wired into vehicles and they can just maneuver like nothing else.
They don't have any of our limitations as far as, like what you can withstand with making a tight turn or whatever.
And another cool thing they can do is they can have a sub-mind. Did you guys read into that?
No.
That's like they can break their mind up into multiple minds in a one body.
So, they can like do the mind palace type thing.
Yeah. So like they could have one mind that like studied xenobiology and one that's studied warfare and one that studied, astrology, and they can talk to those things inside their own head, and they process information so much faster than like a brain would.
Right.
Because they have like computerized minds.
Yeah, they're basically computers, so they process. That's crazy. So it can like play out a whole conversation from like multiple points of view in like less than a few seconds.
And don't have to take medication for it.
Yeah. I want that power.
No,
I
you
want
don't.
that.
All that shit comes with like, have you not listened to this entire fucking thing?
Everything comes with a cost. I know they don't have souls, but
What?
What's it done for me lately? I'm kidding. Emperor, please take my soul.
Yeah, no kidding.
Look after my ever-living soul, Emperor.
But they were like wiping out whole systems of planets
Yeah.
at a time.
Yeah.
And they could just give a shit.
Because they had these basically gods at their back and they were pretty much invulnerable. Nothing could stop them. They could do things that no other living things could. They had no limitations in that regard.
And the Satan were more than happy to just be sucking up the souls that were being consumed by this war.
Yeah. So they're like, sure, yeah, we like soul. Because they did. That is one thing that going into the bodies did, is it removed their taste for stars. Now they're like, oh, souls are good.
Yeah, they were like,
let's eat souls.
They taste better.
Yeah.
Well, so we know that when it comes to animals, right? Like if they are, like if you're assuming that they were never like sentient, then they like basically started off at square one, right? When they were woke up.
Yeah.
We do know that there is a correlation in animals between intelligence and cruelty.
Oh, yeah.
The smarter the animal is, the more likely it is for it to engage in acts of actual cruelty where it hurts an animal for fun rather than for defense or food or any such nonsense.
Whereas like lower minds,
don't
quote unquote,
they don't perceive that sort of thing.
Yeah, they don't.
So it is possible that all of this is a side effect of the Satan becoming conscious.
Or they're just they're like, okay, we like it. Cruelty is fun. Just
it is. Yeah. When if you don't have a moral compunction towards suffering, which they would have no reference for anyway.
Right. And as it is now from their perspective, like when they were ethereal beings, they were
consuming stars.
Yeah. So these are like insects to them.
Yeah.
So, and people feel different ways about insects. Smash them or keep them as pets, like, or eat them.
You have, you have killed as many insects in your life. I don't care what your point of view of an insect is.
Yeah.
No matter how much you like them, you have killed enough of it that if it were any other type of animal, we'd call it
a genocide.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like just a mass.
And that's just by you
killing.
existing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these things
Just
are
by
way worse are way more powerful than us to an ant.
Right. Yeah.
Like we can't fuck up an ant's world the way a Satan would be able to fuck up ours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just not a contest.
Ugh.
So is it shocking that they're cruel? I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
So the Satan and the Necrontyr, now the Necrons, because after the Dermis,
yep.
they are now the Necrons.
Yep.
They just full court press against the old ones, which lead to them to start creating weaponized races like the Krok, which later become the Orc, the Eldar.
Yeah.
But it's just not enough. The Eldar are not able to help the Krok basically lose interest entirely. The Eldar eventually lose interest in defending the old ones as well, which is just fucking terrible.
Oh,
The Eldar really are my least, like, they are the worst. I understand why people don't. Eldar fans, you're gross. You're gross.
Stop typing monkey.
It's okay to be interested in flawed characters.
Yeah. You're gross.
Including the dodos.
And you're not allowed to marry my daughter or move next door to me. You have to live in your own, specifically housed neighborhood. You can call it whatever you want.
Oh,
I don't
God.
care. Anyway,
Yeah.
the old ones just they either are extinct, move, vanish from the scene.
They're done.
I'm not so convinced that they're all dead.
That would make sense.
I agree that it would be a really shit move for Games Workshop to just be like, hey, look, there's an old one after all of this time. But let's be real. Nothing is ever fully extinct. There will be a shard of an old one, just like there are Satans, something.
Some rich billionaire make an island with
Oh.
cloned ones.
Or at least underage ones.
Filament frog.
There'll be
DNA.
not so old ones.
Yeah.
I'm just going to fire. A theory just occurred to me, and I'm just going to fire it off. Whatever. I'm sorry. What if one or a few of them are behind the Tyranids? These creators of life.
So
What if
there's
they
been
went off
there's
and
been some
created
there's been some
Tyranids?
theories about that, about like they are the old ones attempt at just wiping the galaxy clean and starting over.
Yeah, just sending something in that'll just sweep it up.
The only argument against that I found, which I have a hard time pretending like it answers, like it holds water, is that we've never seen anything in the old ones that represents that that's something that they would do.
Okay, right.
But also, like, what's to say that if you're the last old one that you wouldn't go crazy from that?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
the
Necrontyr, when they got beaten back, they altered themselves entirely.
Yeah.
So maybe
there's
an argument for something like that.
Oh, I definitely think there is, for sure. But when it comes to the Tyranids, I think almost anything is still on the table.
Yeah. As far as answers to what the fuck, where the fuck they came from and how.
I myself want the Tyranids to be I want them to remain a completely outside threat. I don't want them to be tied to anything else. But that is definitely a possibility. But anyway, the Necrontyr beat the Necrons. Now they beat the old ones, and they decide to have a civil war.
Yep.
Because,
Yeah. Now, is that because initially there was some sort of protocol built into when they converted that did put them under the control of the Silent King? Is that correct? Or is that something and then he ended up letting that go?
Yeah. I think he used that just till the old ones were dead, and then he released that, which then immediately turned into a civil war, which they then relaunched back at the Satan.
Oh, yep, that's right. They turned against the Satan.
Because that's what the Necrontyr, that's what they do. Yeah. They find something, they get pissed at it, they fight each other, then unite to fight something else.
Yeah, that is their
rinse
pattern,
and repeat.
Holy cow. Wow.
So you got a thing. You got to have a thing.
Yeah. Everybody's got to have a thing. That's their thing.
So not only did they launch a war against the Satan, but they somehow managed to convince the Satan to start attacking each other.
Oh, yeah. So now they're at war with each other and the Necrontyr. Is this where they start getting sharded? I'm sorry.
Please define sharded.
Please.
They are broken into shards.
Yes, it is. In all my videos, I've not heard it put that way, but that is exactly what happened. So we do know that there used to be a lot more Satan than what we're aware of now, and I'm betting that those are the ones that were eaten by the Nightbringer. There were two Satan that were really into like eating other Satan. One is the one that I mentioned before, the Nightbringer, which I guess he looked like the Grim Reaper, complete with scythe.
Ooh, cool.
Azagorad.
Ozzy. So Ozzy was responsible for a lot of the dead Satan, apparently. Memphis and Ozzy.
God.
And probably, I bet Memphis was doing quite a bit of Satan killing himself because he was physically weaker than the others, so I'm sure he knew his ass was on the chopping block.
Yeah. Eat them before they eat you. But,
meanwhile, while that was happening, the Satan had figured out, or the Necron had figured out that they could actually attack the Satan and break them into pieces, shards, and use them as batteries, weapons. And what it would do is it wouldn't kill the Satan. It would actually divide their consciousness into smaller pieces, more manageable pieces.
Yeah.
And by manageable, I mean, like, I think it was Memphis, the Deceiver. A few pieces of him were the Void Dragon that the Emperor fought and then stuffed into the center of Mars.
Oh. Okay. Wow.
Which, fun fact, the sleeping Void Dragon, its dreams are what give the Mechanicum the visions of technology that they develop. And so the Deceiver, Memphis, is actually the machine god. They just don't know it.
My.
All of the holy visions that led to like Mars's technology and stuff that they perceived as visions from the machine god are actually from the sleeping Void Dragon.
Holy cow.
Satan.
Yeah. Satan. That's wild. Oh no. Oh, the poor Mechanicum. They don't even know.
No, they have no idea. You know who does know, though?
Not the Emperor.
I mean, he stuffed the dragon in there.
And okay.
He's just cool with it.
Well, I don't know that he's cool with it. Listen, you always have to remember that the Emperor is human. I think it was an unforeseen side effect.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. He just knows it's going on. But they weren't worshiping. When he was awake, they weren't worshiping the machine god the way they are now, right? Or weren't
Yeah, they were, because he had to make a deal with them to allow them to maintain that worship.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why he was kind of okay with it. Like, of course, there's the whole, like, Mars had the technology that he needed their infrastructure intact to take them over would have cost a lot.
Yeah.
But I think part of it was also that he knew that all of this was because he put that Void Dragon there.
Right. And it produced a lot of advanced technology for him. But even without the benefits, if I were him, I don't know if I would have told him either.
Oh, I wouldn't have.
No,
I most
that would
assuredly
have been just such a bad idea.
They would not have handled that well.
wouldn't have
They
been.
wouldn't have believed him.
Yeah. And if they did, it would be like civilization collapsing. Like that
At
would have
least.
fractured them to bits.
And if
If
Mars
they even
fractures, then humanity fractures because
Yeah.
humanity needs that Martian technology. There's
Yeah.
just no way. There's no two ways about it.
Wow, that's crazy. So that's wild that there are roots to what's going on that far back. Sometimes this universe still blows my mind that we go all the way back to like these beings from before recorded history and shit.
Oh, I know. It's
Yeah.
what's kept
Crazy.
the shit like that is why this lore has kept my interest for so long.
And why you can just never run out of new things to learn about it and to read about in it. You know, they're just,
And you learn
It's
about
wonderful.
that stuff, then you have the context, and it really helps fill in.
Yeah.
Like, they.
because you do build more context, the more you kind of suss out with everything.
You know what's
It just
what?
puts these big pieces together.
You know what this does do, though? This makes me want to move up another episode of Necromunda.
Oh yeah, we have talked about that episode before a little bit doing
So,
that.
Necromunda is, I believe it is the biggest hive city in the 40K universe.
Yeah.
And there's like whole games and settings that are just Necromunda and the different gangs and different factions inside that hive city. So that's like that's a good study into the minutia that we could do.
Yeah, where we kind of can zoom in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let us know if Necromunda is something that we should move up forward in the schedule. We definitely would be interested in doing that as opposed to all this gigantic cosmic
level things. Yeah. So, yeah.
But anyway,
Cool.
the Necrontyr move along, wiping out or sharding all of the Satan and chopping them into bits and turning them into
An energy source.
or usable weapons. Like
Jeez.
one reference that I've seen a lot was a Pokeball, and it's not unlike that. They can literally just release this shard of Satan that will then fight on their behalf, more or less,
Yeah.
and be a sentient weapon for a while.
That's crazy. And then in theory, put it back away again. If they want
Yes.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pokemon.
But all of this leads to the Necrons like really, really scouring our galaxy of life. Like not entirely, but enough for them to really kind of want to nope out of the situation
Yeah.
because life was dying. Things were more or less collapsing. I mean, there's only so many systems you can wipe out and so many living beings you can destroy. And even though they didn't need food or water, they could not sustain their existence in this galaxy.
Yeah. Hostile.
Yeah, it was too hostile. It was dying.
Yeah.
The warp was becoming a hellish landscape due to all of the death,
warring and craziness.
So they were probably encountering demons and stuff through other beings.
Oh yeah, because remember it was a thinner veil back then, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
And if a warp god did exist, it already does exist.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's right. Time doesn't matter to them in the same way.
Nope.
So
The minute they're
been
born,
sending-
they've always existed.
Jeez.
So-
So you're not even limited to like what life there was reflecting in the warp, creating all this stuff. It was all the life that had ever lifed could be seeping in.
Now, yeah.
Yeah. Or the reflection of life, you know what I mean? The warp energy from them.
Yeah, and even the Necrons themselves didn't escape this thing unscathed. They actually found out that destroying a Satan rather than splitting it into shards
Yeah.
was a real detriment to reality itself because they were so intrinsically tied to physical existence. One of these kind of prices they ended up paying was the destruction of Satan known as Landau.
Lando.
Memphis, Lando,
And
Memphis, Lando, and Ozzy.
Ozzy.
And so Lando was also known as the Flayer. And as he was being destroyed, he released upon them the Flayer virus,
Oh.
which is a really interesting disease, mental illness that the Necrons have. Jerry, did you read about it?
yeah, it's kind of like a madness that they get that kind of turns them into zombies
Sort of.
Oh.
in a way.
Yeah?
So it gives them the desire, the unending craving to eat flesh.
Yes.
Okay. So, but not Necron flesh.
There is no Necron
Right.
flesh. No, just living flesh.
Okay. So they're not eating other Necrons. They're eating creatures.
Well, they
Us.
can't. They
Well,
can't eat anything. They don't have lips or mouths.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
oh, okay.
So
Yeah, I know nothing about these guys.
yeah,
Sorry.
so what it does is it mutates them. It makes their arms longer. They grow claws. They evolve into a more predatory state. And this hunger leads to them just basically killing things and then smashing the meat into their mouths.
Huh.
But it doesn't satisfy that hunger, so it drives them mad, and they end up wearing the skins, trying to.
Feel something?
Yes,
Oh, man. That's disgusting.
and they live in a pocket dimension that no story has been in, but when they open up a portal and come out of it, the little glimpse of we've seen is just covered, whatever that dimension, it's just covered in flayed and skinned bodies and meat that they've tried to
Tried to eat.
yeah. And so basically what these things do is they're able to detect when the Necrons are in battle.
Oh.
And so they will just teleport into battle and reinforce the Necrons by just flinging themselves into whatever they're fighting.
Oh,
Yeah, because they're still loyal to like
They are.
the Pharaohs. And
no kidding.
Yeah. But the Necron armies have no control over. They're their own independent faction.
Right. They'll just fight for them.
Yes.
Okay.
But the big problem is the flare virus is transmissible to other Necrons.
Oh, so they could just be in the middle of a battle and these guys show up
And then they're infected.
and you catch the infection.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to fight.
And it could
inferior
take
beings.
it could
Wow.
take tens, hundreds, or thousands of years to completely
check their
gestate
mind.
inside
Yeah.
you and take you.
Oh, wow.
So you could fight a battle with them and not know.
You don't even know.
Yeah, because they could just like pocket a finger to like eat later. And that's how it could start. And then it progressively gets worse.
Oh, they're just like, just a little bit of meat.
Yeah, and then
Just a
they
little.
hide it from like everyone else.
That's interesting. But it is, I see why you kind of compared them to zombies. It is that sort of like,
they have like,
they eat things, but it doesn't do anything for them usually, depending on the zombie,
Yeah,
But-
it's a complete compulsion that
Yeah.
they can't satisfy.
So, but they're able to teleport out of this pocket dimension
Mhm.
at will. Like that's up to them.
Yeah.
Huh.
yeah, they have a phase teleport kind of thing. Like even before they get turned into a flayed, if they are damaged to where their necrodermis doesn't fix itself,
Uh-huh.
they can sort of teleport back to their tomb
Yeah,
Area?
their base.
Okay.
until they can be fixed again.
Yeah, but you know what the bitch
Oh.
is? If you destroy the necrodermis to the point where it can't fix itself, one of two things will happen. The Necron will either teleport out of battle back to their home base to be repaired, or they will implode so that none of their technology can be recovered. You know what the real bitch is? The explosion and the teleportation look exactly the same.
Oh, no kidding.
So you
Oh,
never
no.
know if you've actually killed that Necron or if it's teleported back to be repaired.
That's a mind fuck. I don't like that. And it's kind of an asshole move if you're teleporting to also explode, like cause an explosion. Pick one.
Well, the explosion doesn't seem to damage anything but the dying Necron.
Oh, okay. So it's not like
A chain reaction or anything like that.
Not like a big blast. That'll
No.
Okay. It's less spiteful than I
It
thought.
looks more like a flame and then a beam just shooting up into the air.
Okay.
Neon green.
But I hate that uncertainty. Is like, is it dead or is it going to come back in a few?
And also, Necrons don't talk. All of their communication is telepathic. So you could be fighting an entire army of Necrons that aren't saying a word.
I remember that being one of the creepiest things to me about 40K when I first started learning about this stuff was just this idea of kind of like Terminators looking
Yeah.
army, like from the Terminator movies in their
Yep.
future, just marching towards you without saying a word. It's a very creepy feeling, ominous. Ugh.
Space zombie robots.
Space zombie robots.
Yep. And so with all these mounting pressures, the Necron decided to take a nap. They
Hibernation
developed
time.
these giant tomb worlds,
Mm-hmm.
which are just vast, basically cryogenic chambers that entire planets that they can put their civilization on pause for.
Yeah, just go into stasis.
Yeah.
Yep. And they have auto defense turrets and
Yeah, they're just all their defenses are just automated. They don't have to worry about it.
they slept for what was it? How long, Jerry?
60 million standard years.
And
That's a hell of an app.
and the entire galaxy forgot about them.
Like some civilizations cropped up like on Tomb Worlds, right? They
Yeah, oh
were
yeah.
just-
There's tons of instances
in.
where people just forgot, just
They
had
just
no idea. And there's probably many more that just haven't woken up yet.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But we'll get to Tomb Worlds in the waking up process in the next episode.
Okay, cool. I'll bet there's some good stories in that sort of stuff too. Just that idea of like something sentient from below that ancient horror.
I mean,
coming
you'd be
up.
fucked
I
if
love
you were any civilization that wasn't a Space Marine chapter or something, and these fuckers just woke up under you. You're done.
Yeah, that's it.
Their technology is so advanced compared to everybody else on the board.
Yeah,
That's why a lot of those tombs would get disturbed because people would be like, "Oh, I want that space technology in there that's,
Yeah.
could give us an advantage, and then they don't realize what they're messing with.
No, they kind of Indiana Jones it and wake something up. Because that will wake up Necrons, won't it?
Oh, yeah.
Stuff like that.
And what's even worse is like if you defeat, not to dive too far into the Tomb Worlds, because obviously we want to leave some meat on that bone.
Yeah.
But if you defeat the first line of defense, it automatically starts waking up the next. And it just keeps doing that. And
it
so
escalates, doesn't it?
Yeah. So we might be sitting on a scenario where we've not even seen what the Necrons are actually sitting on just because they haven't woken up yet.
That's crazy. Yeah. They start with probably as light a touch as they can get away with and then just escalate it. It's like, no, we told you to fuck off.
Oh, yeah. So I think we'll leave it at there because at the next episode, we'll pick up with Zarek's return and the reawakening of the Necrons.
Ooh, okay. That sounds good. It's been a while since I've had to do the wrap-up stuff, but I got this. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'll start there because honestly, thank you guys again so much. Be sure to check out other episodes of Cult of Lore if you're just finding us here through the Necrons, because we haven't touched on Necrons before, so we might get some new people. There's all sorts of other Warhammer 40K episodes that we've done that you can catch up on, and other neat things like that. So we do all sorts of like holiday specials and cover other lores and things like that. And be sure to search at Cult Talk Net for other shows by Cult Talk Net. There's Cult Talk Conspiracy. There's still some Cult of Campbell. American Pie Slices is another fun one. They're talking about the American Pie movie in 6 fantastic episodes.
There's the Cult of Russell, the 2 Christmas episodes. We're going to be cranking out another one hopefully soon.
Yeah.
I think it should be Escape from New York myself, but we'll see.
Ooh, yeah, that'd be a good movie.
Yeah. That's a wild one. Or Big Trouble in Little China. I do love my Big Trouble in Little China.
Ooh, there you go.
So we'll see what wheels I can grease with that.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty much
That's
about
it?
it. Yeah.
So thanks for following along with us on another episode of Cult of Lore. With that, I'm Ben.
I'm Eric.
I'm going to get some soul food.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's damn near a Holocaust joke.